Hi, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Um, I was, I've been absent a little bit, um, doing my dailies, but otherwise sort of laying low. And that was a personal decision because I found myself very overwhelmed, not by connecting with you, but just by what was going on in the world and in my life. And um, I didn't want that to influence my readings. So I am back, and we'll see if I'm not influenced. All right. So a lot of things happening, of course. The C19, we'll call it perhaps, has been called a pandemic. I think I spelled that wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. So that's going on. Um, yeah. So the president spoke on it. Was it last night? And I I I have trouble watching him and listening to him. So I did not listen to him last night, but I did listen to him today. It was very short and always, as always, very painful for me. Um, and he was, very. He was reading. He was. I don't know. Just it's difficult. It's difficult to believe somebody who lies all the time. So even though he's reading something, and even if it's true, it's really hard. It's really hard. It does take a lot of anyway. It's not easy. Thank you, Ona, for watching him in real time, and Ona did a really cool little thing on him and what he said and what she smelled, and so thank you, Ona, for taking the bullet for us, so to speak, and actually listening to him in real time. Um, and I've gotten some information from a colleague of mine about C19, um, that I don't know if it'll come up in this reading or not. I'm not going to talk about it per se, but yeah. And I am of the ilk that I do not tend to push the agenda of um, fear, because it's an overused agenda, quite frankly. And there are things that we know, there are things that we don't know, there are things that are hidden from us. I think it's very selective in what is the information that's given to us. And it always comes down to the money. So I thought I would do a reading on uh, where we are right now in America. This is just a general reading on America and what we're facing, what's coming up for us. So we had a full moon, very powerful full moon a couple of days ago. And this coming week, starting, let me think now, there's a lot of things happening the third week of um, March, and that's next week. A lot of astrological stuff happening, just a lot of stuff. So let's do a quick look at that. There is going to be a debate between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. I'm very interested in how that is going to go. Um, I might do a separate reading on that. I'll see if it comes up with these cards. We'll just kind of see what's. This is just general U.S. reading. So thank you to all my watchers from other countries who watch me for concentrating on America. America. I'm gonna have to look back and see what I said about March because I did do a reading for March, didn't I? See, I don't remember what I say. It's said and then it goes away. And so, you know, that's just the way it is. I can't hold it in my head really. Too crowded. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go. Okay, so the first card is the Two of Swords. So um, this is about making decisions and not really being sure which direction you're going in. We have two gentlemen here. There are two swords. Um, one gentleman is beating a drum. So there is this sense of urgency, perhaps, beating the war drum or beating, just like getting the blood boiling with the drum, right? And then you have the other guy sort of sitting there and still not being able to make a decision. And so I feel like we're in a place right now where we're sort of not sure what to believe, not sure what to do. I think there are various options here, but there is this sense of still contemplating our next move. Let's see what's crossing that. And we have the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands. And so the Queen of Wands in this particular sort of theme that the first card brought up, the Queen of Wands is an energy that is very concerned with home and health and security. Um, the Queen of Wands is the mother of fire. She is the stoker of the hearth, the stoker of the heart. And so the challenge here is what's best for the people, what's best for the family or the family of man or the children or um, and so there is this added um, tension or stress. I was watching. I was watching The House. They were talking to these people from the CDC and um, some. I don't know who they were. They were the doctors. They were talking about the C-19 thing, and the people who were asking questions that I saw was Rashida Tlaib, Katie Porter, and then Hanlon or Hayland from New Mexico. All women, all very smart, all very pointed questions. But it was interesting that it was in the little time that I actually got to watch it, that it was women asking questions. So there's this energy of women being concerned, that sort of um, interconnectedness that women understand that sometimes men miss. Actually. All right, let's see what's at the root of this. Okay, excuse me. This is the Seven of Wands. In this deck, in other decks, it tends to be somebody's fighting against you and you have the higher ground, right? But in this deck, it's more about sort of building defenses. This guy is building defenses, although the defense isn't up. You see, this is not a very good defense. It's a little bit, I mean, he could jump over it. Just about anybody could jump over it, although there is boundary and there's defense. So at the root of it, I would say that there is this sense of lack of defense, lack of real foundational, structural infrastructure for this kind of problem. And I think that is something that people are really coming to terms with. And I think, and as I said at the beginning, when Trump was talking about, oh, this is going to be fine, we're going to be this, we're going to be that, we have a great economy, blah, blah, blah. People are like, you're a liar. Like, I mean, I'm sure there are some people who believe it, but I don't think you're watching me if you do. So we, of course, we're questioning that, and of course, it's always about how it looks on him, not how the situation. He's not willing to take a loss or take a shot at his ego, or admit that he was wrong in any way, for other people's benefit. So we know that, right? So we're feeling this. So we on some level we know that we are not really capable of dealing with a real pandemic. Did I spell that right? Okay. I was watching this video and she spelled a lot of things, because I think if they know, if the words are there, if they see them, if you say it, then they defund it, or they don't put you out there. So there's a lot of there's a lot of what's that word? Oh my God, I can't even think of the word. They're trying to suppress a lot of stuff. And I can understand on one level, because there's plenty of people out there who were do the clickbait thing, and they want everything out there. They want it monetized, but and they'll say anything. I mean, you can say anything really, but you're not going to get paid if you say certain things. And that's sort of what's going on right now. Let's see what's in the past. Okay. So in the past we have the Hermit. And the Hermit is a card that um is really about it's about healing. It's about sharing knowledge and sharing um what you know. It is a healing card. And we did in the past have things in place to actually be able to handle something like this. So of course, it may still have been a problem. Maybe it might not have been enough to handle what we're facing, but there was at least some wisdom around it and some actions taken. And of course, that was the whole pandemic. People, was it in the CDC? And then there was something in the White House, and Trump got rid of all of that. Okay, so in the sky we have the card of choices. We have the Lover's card. This is a communication card. Okay, it's communication. It's connected to Gemini. Gemini is a sign connected to the lungs. The North Node will be moving into Gemini in May. I think it's May 5th, but I could be wrong. And of course, South Node will be in Sag. And so Gemini issues will be coming up. Facts, truth and lies, news, fake news, where you getting your news from, all that stuff, the facts, the data, it's all out there. That's coming up. As I read this, this is about decisions. This choice cards. And so I feel like spirit, which oftentimes comes in this part of the reading, that sort of top card in the and I'm sorry you can't see it. I don't have the technology for that. I know it's probably easy technology, but I don't have it. Um, I think Spirit is telling us make good choices. Make good choices. Be informed as best you can. So know what is going on in your state and your local area. I live in Massachusetts. The governor just declared a state of emergency. I know where in my area. I know where um, if you have the virus or whatever, where to go. I do know that I think it's St. Luke's Hospital in New Bedford, if anybody was wondering. Um, and double check my information, because I by no means am an expert or necessarily up on everything, but stay informed. That's what Spirit wants us to do. Now let's look at the immediate future. Okay. So the thing about this card is that this card is about taking action without thinking. This is sort of like there's this here I am to save the day energy about this card, but not always well thought out and can sometimes create more chaos than not. So, again, be informed and be aware that in the rush to take an action or in the rush to mitigate something that could have easily been mitigated if we had depended on the wisdom of the past, but that's not an option anymore. Okay, um, just be aware that there's going to be a lot of, uh, I think, panic in and actions taken that may or may not be necessary because of the panic situation. So I just want you to be aware of that. So let's see how it's seen from the outside. Um, so I think that there are other countries who aren't too pleased with us. We're doing a travel ban to Europe now. Is that the deal? And the people in Europe are not too happy about that. Um, Things weren't discussed. It was sort of just like put out there. There's this energy of reaction. I mean, uh, instead of it being like, let's discuss this and sit down and see what the best course of action is, we have a president who just does, just makes these decisions willy nilly without information really, um, to do things. And so I think that the rest of the world is just like, "Ugh, really? Okay, domestic situation." Okay, so we have a little bit of, we have the page of cups here. This is messages coming. There's an immaturity about this card, but generally not so, not as bad. So I would say the news is not as bad as we may think from that card. Hopes and fears. Yeah, I think people are concerned, right? Their fear is that they're either going to be stuck or um, they should be stuck and they're not, right? So staying inside. I don't know. I won't stay inside, folks. You know me. I got to be in the garden no matter what. Of course, there's nobody else in the garden but me and the birds, and the bees, Boo, sometimes Michael. So I'm not in any danger in my garden. I will breathe the air. Okay, let's see the outcome. So we have the Three of Wands here. We see uh, somebody coming in a boat to give this person another wand. I feel like we're going to get help from outside of this country. I feel like so I feel like the world community is gonna be helpful to us, even if it's the fact that we are learning how to do it or how not to do it from watching what's going on in other countries. Let's see if we can get a major arcana. We have the Queen of Cups, and we have the transition card, which is actually the Death card in this deck. And so the outcome is the Death card. Now, this is a pretty, I guess, virulent in relationship to other things, virus. And so we will have death. We will have people die. But of course, people die every day. Um, but I feel like the transition card speaks more to the changes that are necessary. So I think ultimately what this is going to help us do is to have some changes in. Um, this is an opportunity for us to change things for the better when it comes to healthcare. This whole thing that Bernie talks about, it's a human right. It is, and it's just this is going to be a test of a system that's already broken. And so, as somebody who has been in healthcare for over 30 years, I can tell you the system is broken. And one of the reasons why um, I retired was because I couldn't deal with the system anymore. I couldn't. It was too stressful for me. And when you can't give your patients what you want to give them, if somebody who's not trained is making decisions about your patient's healthcare, um, it makes it very difficult. And then, not everybody gets to benefit from your health care because they either don't have the money or their insurance doesn't cover it. And then you try to make it affordable for people. And then, there's a lot of different reasons. We do live in a very litigation society. People are always looking to make money in some way. And there's a lot of, not to say that patients don't need to be protected and such, but, um, litigation shouldn't be the way, um, or the first line of defense, perhaps. But, you know, I am a physician, so um, I understand why there are a lot of rules because not everybody follows them and not everybody is well intended. But I have never met somebody who wasn't well intended in healthcare, whether it's alternative healthcare like myself, 30 years of chiropractor, or medical doctors. I mean, almost everybody I know in healthcare is there because they want to help people. It's the system that's broken, it's not the people. Okay, let's see what's underneath it all. We have the victory card. We have the victory card. So that's good. So I think that ultimately this is going to be a test of the healthcare system. And it's going to, I think that there will be, because we do have resources in this country, um, I do think that it's the problems will be somewhat mitigated. But it will also sort of bring out the fault lines in the system. But I think that people have to fight for it. I don't think they're going to say, oh, well, if we had done it this way, this would have been much better for the people. Because as long as profit is your motive, you don't really give a crap about the people. That's true. Healthcare should be something that people get because they're breathing, not because they can afford it or can't afford it. So who'll suffer from this? Probably the poorest people, as always. They always seem to suffer the most. Um, who will do okay? The people who can afford to do okay. The people who have a little bit of, if they can't work for a week because they're in quarantine, or 2 weeks because they're in quarantine, they're not going to go bankrupt. They're not going to lose their house. They're not going to lose their car. Um, those people. So the people at the edges, of course, are going to be the ones that um, are most affected. But I think that this is an opportunity, a golden opportunity in a way, for us to really push for the kind of change that we want to see. And as a Bernie supporter, you know that Medicare for all is a good idea. Now, I'll tell you, as a chiropractor, Medicare didn't cover very much. It didn't cover a lot. For me as a chiropractor, it covered one thing, okay, just an adjustment. Didn't cover x-rays, didn't cover any therapies, none of that. Didn't cover, if you had to sit with the patient and explain something, none of that got covered. Some of that got covered in the profession, the paid insurance, right? But not everybody had that. And then people would change. So this is the reality of things. Nothing is, there's no, like, you can be stable for a little while, but there's no guarantee. And that instability and that sense of of stress that creates disease. So the thing that you're trying to avoid, you're creating through the system and the way the system is. So while wasn't ever going to make I was never going to probably be um, a highly successful financially anyway, doctor, because of the Medicare patients that I had. I still think as a human being, we need to make sure that everybody gets a certain level of coverage. This is my soapbox, I guess. I don't talk about it a lot because I've had certainly my painful experiences dealing with insurance companies. So I don't like to bring that up. Try to leave that behind. But as somebody who's, been in the system and has chosen to leave the system, um, I have a lot more peace of mind, but financially it's a hit. So we shouldn't have to make that decision, right? As physicians or as patients. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Um, so just to go over the reading, people are not trusting the system. The system will have its failures. There will be, I think, a lot of unnecessary things going on that don't need to happen because things aren't well thought out. But ultimately, I think it's going to help to show the cracks in the system. And if we as the people can continuously push um, and use this as a learning experience to get our agenda of uh, healthcare as a right, as a human right, I think that this is going to go a long way toward that. So that's what it looks like to me. I think I will try to do a reading on um, Bernie and Joe's um, debate. All right, guys. Take care. I'll see you soon and have a great day. Stay safe. Wash your hands if you're going out. Um, I know now this is for entertainment purposes only. I can't give you advice. I can't give you medical advice. Um, you know, washing your hands is great. So do that. Um, and I know that everybody's using these antibacterial things. Those things can be very harmful as well. So use restraint with those. Okay, use restraint. All right, guys. See you later. Bye. Like and subscribe. And if you want to donate, there's the link below. Thanks.